What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a new upgraded screen for the dash of our Tesla Model 3 or Model Y. This is the F10 screen from Test Studio. Really excited to jump into it, show you how it compares to the last screen I did, the F9 screen. We'll do a little bit of comparison, talk you guys through all the installation steps and go over all the features. Let's get into it. So jumping right into the unboxing, we got this dash screen from Test Studio. Really excited to partner with them again. I love all their products. Make sure you check them out. As we unbox this, you'll see kind of what it comes with right out of the package. Some really amazing instructions, installation manual, very, very helpful when you're working on something like this. A positioning sticker, so we make sure we position it in the right place. We'll show you how that goes here soon. You get a front dash, front bumper camera, which actually is great for some of our legacy Model 3s and Model Ys that don't typically have these. So if you want to install a front bumper camera, so you'll have a display on your front screen, you can do that. We're going to be skipping this step for the purposes of my installation, but I love that you can come have this as an option. This kit comes with the front camera, or you can order an option without it if you don't want it at that expense. Then you get the wiring harness here, which is going to be very simple. It's going to plug in kind of on our right side passenger footwell. So I'll show you how to do all that. It's kind of plug and play. And then the actual screen itself. So let's pull this out of here. And I just want to show you specifically what's different between this F10 screen and the F9 screen that I reviewed, about a month and a half ago. So looking at this screen, I want to say first off, it's a little wider and not as tall. So if you like that form factor a little bit differently, that's something that stands out. A little bit wider, not as tall. I'll get some comparisons here in a second. The installation process is almost exactly the same. You're going to be doing the same kind of mounting plate on the bottom. We'll go through it step by step so you can see it all. These screens are amazing because they have this pass-through ability where it takes your actual air conditioning or your heat, passes it underneath this channel in the screen, and it still kind of comes and directs it to your face. Another big improvement they made for this screen is these adjustable like louvers or vents where you can actually move them back and forth. See if I can get a shot of that looking through. You can see right there, you can move it back and forth. So you can get some adjustability. The other dash screen I reviewed that either didn't have this or has a little pass through, you couldn't adjust it at all. So it always blasted right kind of at your steering wheel. Now you have some adjustability to control where that air goes once it comes through this little pass through here. Really cool idea. I'm really excited to get this installed and see what kind of features it has. So let's go ahead and put this down. We're going to head over to the car after we do some comparison of the F10 screen to this F9 screen. We'll show you what that looks like. Just a little form factor comparison. On the left here is the brand new F10 screen. Over here on the right is the F9 screen. So you can see just kind of right off the bat, the F9 screen, it's hard to get them right next to each other. Let me try this. The F9 screen now on the bottom, it's a little bit taller, but not as wide. If you can kind of see that here. So a really nice comparison there. And let's look at the kind of the tallness. So you can see a little bit different here if I hold them up side by side. Now we have the F9 over on the left, and it's a little bit taller. So just depending on which kind of form factor you like. We're going to be installing the S10 screen, the F10 screen up top here. You can see it has the adjustable louvers, where down here, it was just kind of one straight shot of air coming at you. So a little bit different there, but I wanted to show the differences of the screens. They're going to install very similar, almost the same way, but definitely kind of have some different form factor and functionality with these adjustable vents. So we'll put all that to the test. Let's go get this installed. So if you've seen me do a screen install before, this one's going to install very similar. We're going to take off some of the trim along this right passenger side here. We're going to remove this dash panel so we can attach our screen to it. Then we'll put it all back together after we plug in some wires. So they're actually very simple. It's kind of a plug and play process. What we're going to start doing on my 2022 Model Y, I'm going to pull off these triangles here. These little side triangles, one on the passenger side. There's also going to be one over on the driver's side the same way. Then we're going to start removing some of these trim panels here. So I'm just using a trim tool and get down in there, pull out some of these pieces. Then I'm going to pull off this kind of weather stripping kind of all the way down so I can get out this little panel. Super easy to put back on, no worries there. In here, you'll see there is an actual little push toggle, one of these little push toggle clips. So I like to use the tip of my trim tool, pull that out. Then we can actually start peeling back this piece of trim. And this is just held in by clips, so I like to just take it all the way out, just get it out of my way. Set it down here on the ground. And there we go. We kind of have access to what we need. Next, I'm going to go over to the passenger, the driver's side, pull off this triangle, and then we'll pull off this whole dash piece. So I popped it loose over there. This side's all nice and loose. We can just lift this up, carefully pull it out of the car, and then we have it all kind of loose. We'll take it with us over to the workbench. All right, so we have everything kind of laid out, how we're actually going to be installing the screen. The first step is to use the included positioning sticker, and you can kind of see what it matches here. What this is for, it gives you 3 little cutout arrows, and it's going to tell you exactly where to feed the wires from the screen. So go ahead and pull off this sticker. It's not super sticky because you're going to want to take this off eventually, but it's just kind of a guide, a little marker guide. And I like that they include this so you don't mess it up. So what I'm going to do is just line it over here with this left part of my actual screen, or my dash, and kind of just put it down. You don't need to push it hard. It's not going to stay there forever. Then it aligns perfectly with these 3 little holes. You guys can see that kind of right there. The camera makes it look a little funky, but it aligns perfectly with 3 little holes where you're actually going to insert the wires from your screen. So it's really cool how they designed this. So we're going to go ahead and fan out these wires, make sure they're nice and straight. Scoot my dashboard back a little bit because I don't want to bump the screen on the ground. Let's kind of leave it like that. And we have numbers 1, 2, and 3. So let's kind of feed them all through the holes it says to feed them through. And there you go, kind of feed them all the way through once they get kind of fed through there. Now we can actually take this little part, line it up with our little holes in our dash while we're pulling those wires through. It's a little finicky here. But then you're going to want to align those little tabs that were kind of on the bottom of the screen here, if you can see what I'm doing, aligning them with the actual holes where they line up and kind of make sure it's a nice tight fit. I do have this dash cover on here, so it makes mine kind of a little bit tighter than it normally would be. But if you don't have the dash cover, no big deal. This will be super easy. So once you get it kind of lined up like that, we're going to flip this whole contraption over, and we're going to use this little bracket to kind of screw onto those little 4 posts that we just inserted through the holes here. So I flipped the whole thing over, and you can kind of see the little posts coming through. One there, one right here. Here's the wires we fed through. One here, and then there's one down this way. So we're going to take our little bracket piece, feed the wires through the middle section of it. And then we're going to go ahead and line it up where those little posts are going to be. And we're going to take our screws and go ahead and screw it down to those posts. And that'll give us a really nice, secure way to mount the actual dash screen to our dash. It won't be going anywhere. So we're going to work on that step next. All right, we just finished up tightening all 4 screws on the back side here of our dash plate. It is a little tricky when you have kind of a dash cover on there. You really have to kind of push it together, cinch it down so your actual post will attach to the screws here. But I got it all attached. The dash screen's not going anywhere. Let's head back over to the car. We can go ahead and kind of set the dash up on the top part of our car there. Go ahead and complete some of the wiring, and we'll be good to go. Back over at the car, I want to show you guys this power harness. And it looks like there's tons and tons of plugs on it, but it's actually super simple. On the far end, you get a lot of coils of water and this little spot that says screen power plug. Included in the kit is the little power plug adapter. So we're just going to go ahead and hook this up first. All of these plugs should only attach one way, so you're not going to have any kind of issues as you're plugging these things together. Go ahead and get that. You get a nice little click. And that's going to plug into our number 1 and our number 2 outlets over on the screen there. So all of this cord that I'm holding in my left hand is going to go up under the dash. So as we get to the other end here, I want to break down what's kind of down here. So it gives you a couple different options depending on whether you have an Intel car or an AMD powered car. So you'll see over on this label here, this is the Intel host power plug. It says Inter, but I think that's just a translation error. But this is if you have an Intel power car or an Intel powered computer, you'd use these sets of plugs to plug it all in. We don't have that, so we actually get to ignore this entire setting right here. So we'll just keep going down the wire here. This is your OBD port, onboard diagnostics port. This is what we'll be using, and it's labeled as AMD CAN. It's like a CAN bus connector, so I'll show you where exactly that plugs. And if we keep following it down a little bit, you get this, and this one is labeled as your AMD power plug. So we're going to use both of the AMD plugs, the actual OBD port plug and the power plug. That's where we're going to get power and then information to the screen. So that's all we're going to need is these two sides and the far side where we just plugged in that connector, which plugs into our dash screen. So actually super, super simple. So taking our OBD port and kind of back down in here behind this little panel, you can see it. There's a little blue plug, right kind of there where my finger is pointing. That's where we're going to plug this one in. So you can daisy chain some of these accessories together. So they give you this extra plug on the end in case you want to do that. But we're not going to have anything extra to daisy chain here. So I'm just going to work my way down in here and plug in this connector down into that blue plug. It is a little tricky. You just got to kind of work at it. There you go. Nice little connection there. Go ahead and move some of those cords up out of the way. We're going to tuck it all back up in here anyway. So next we're going to grab our kind of power connector for the AMD ports. And where you get power is right down here and this little connection down at the bottom. So I have another accessory kind of plugged in here for some of my dash lights. But again, you can daisy chain these things together. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that. Plug this end into what we just, let's see, this way. There we go. Nice click. And plug this side in down where we just unplugged the other one. And that's it. I'm already getting kind of power back to where I, removed it before. That's really the crux of plugging everything in. 2 plugs, one in the OBD port, one down here in the power, depending on if you have the Intel or the AMD processors. Next is going to be kind of putting this stuff away, running our wire up here and over to the dash side. So we'll work on that next. So I'm unwrapping my wire that I'm going to have go up kind of underneath all my dash vents and stuff here, because this is what I'm going to want. And I'm just going to kind of lay it out where I think it's kind of going to go. And I want some extra slack so I can tuck it behind all this trim and things. So they give you plenty and plenty of wire. But that's essentially it. I'm going to grab some painter's tape because I like to use a little painter's tape just to attach these wires to these flat parts, just to keep it nice and secure and out of the way, or it doesn't interfere when I reinstall my dash. So I put a couple pieces of painter's tape over in front of the actual steering wheel there, just to kind of organize this wire a little bit. Is really all I'm trying to do, and keep it out of the way of these little retaining clips. So just go ahead and put a little piece of painter's tape there. And all it's doing is just keeping it in position, not doing anything structural or anything like that. It's going to be hidden perfectly. So a couple pieces of painter's tape, that's all you're going to need. Then I like to have this wire just droop along down the side here. Essentially after that, we can reinstall the dash and actually plug in the screen. So let's head over to the driver's side and do that next. So as I bring the dash kind of back in over here, I'm going to just carefully set it up top here so I can work on plugging in some of those cords. So let's see. Should have enough slack here, and you're really just matching up numbers, 1 to 1 and 2 to 2. Your 3 would go to your front dash cam, but like we said, we're not going to install that for the purposes of this video. So generally there's a little kind of mark or indicator how these would plug in, little arrow, match that up with the other arrow, give it a nice little plug in your home. So let's see, 2 goes to 2, and my 2's back here. And if we did it right, this should turn on shortly. There it goes. Our screen's turning on already, so awesome. Then you got your nice kind of display showing that the doors are open. Really cool. So we're going to tuck this kind of up and away, make sure they're out of our way of all of our dash vents and everything like that, all of our clips. Now, one thing you really want to focus on when you're installing this toward the dash screen is making sure your little part in the back, I'll move the camera over, I turned on the turn signal, make sure this part actually aligns down in this front kind of section so you get that airflow, right? So make sure as you're doing this dash, tilt it back, kind of force it back in there, because you want to make sure this fits down in the gap here below to get that airflow. And there you go, a couple little smacks. You kind of can see that there's a nice little pass through right here. You can adjust these air vents up so they still have some nice flow. And I can already feel the airflow coming through it. And that looks excellent. That looks like a really clean install. I already really like how it looks. And I can already kind of feel some of that air coming through. So it looks really good to me. Let's go ahead and head back to the right side, button up all that trim. I'll show you how to tuck all those wires away. So coming back over to this side, it's really just kind of tucking some of these wires away now. I know we have a lot of extra kind of wire, so I like to take just kind of the bundle of what I got and really just kind of tuck it back up in here. There's generally plenty of space along these kinds of side panels and trim areas, and when you push all this back, you won't even notice it. So just make sure you're not pinching any wires as you do it, and just kind of get it tucked back in. And then it's just really installing kind of your little push toggle clips that you had out. And let's see, they're right down here. So I'm pulling this little piece of fabric back over, pushing this one in, and that kind of keeps all that nice and secure. And we're going to do our side trim down here. Bring this back up. And I like to start down here, kind of off camera where you can't see, but get all those clips in. Moving these ones up and just kind of getting it kind of over this carpet. Back in there, line up that top part right there with your push toggle. There you go. That push toggle's back in. We're going to reinstall some of this weather stripping that we have down at the bottom, but not too far yet because we still want to install these kind of clips back here. That one fits in. It attaches at the top here. Then you can reinstall this weather stripping. And finally, the two triangles, one on your left side, one on your right side. And there you go. Our whole trim's kind of buttoned back up. Couldn't even tell we were there. All right, so now that we got the dash screen installed, I'm really impressed. I can already kind of feel the airflow. I love that I can direct it up now, so it's not just crashing right into my actual steering wheel housing, my steering column here. It's getting a little bit of that airflow onto my face. So if you're interested in any of these dash screens, getting one that has the pass-through, I think is definitely the way to go. So let's kind of talk about this screen for a little bit. You'll see right off the bat, it's a very similar UI to that F10 screen I reviewed maybe a month and a half ago on the actual channel. So if you kind of scroll through some of here, you can see what you can actually look at. Let's look all the tire pressure indicators, your distance of the actual drive you're on, a consumption meter, settings. Yes, you can do CarPlay, Android Auto, Miracast, if you want to cast things from your phone to your actual screen here, that's super cool. AirPlay, you can do that as well. So lots of awesome options for things you can do. We'll show you how to do Android Auto here a little later. So hopping into the settings menu, you can set up a Bluetooth connection, turn on Wi-Fi, do any of those things, get some over-the-air updates if you want to do that. In the general settings, I like to have mine set to Fahrenheit because I'm in the good old US of A. I want a 12-hour time system, set your time zone. I want American speed limit signs. The speaker, you can have it come over Bluetooth or the loudspeaker. I want my settings in PSI. Then we can actually change the model. If I want to pretend that I'm driving a Cybertruck, I can do that. But we'll leave it on Model Y or Model Y Juniper. We drive a red one. And then we can actually have a couple different UIs of different displays. I'll show you those as we're doing the driving test here a little bit later. But then I like to leave my display mode on auto so that I can actually see everything. When the screen would change to like a light mode, so will this. When the screen would change to a night mode, so will this screen too. I really don't like the rainbow road setting, so I normally turn that off. That's when you're doing like autopilot or full self-driving. It would show rainbow road up on your screen. I don't really like that, so I'll leave it off, and then we can go back home. And then our car changes to what we're actually driving, which is super cool. You can actually pull down from the top of this screen as well. Sometimes it takes a couple times. There we go. For a few other kind of hidden settings too. You can turn the screen on and off. You can preheat your battery here. I'm not sure what some of these other ones are. Bluetooth mode. You can pop open different doors. So if you're having a passenger who doesn't know how to open the door, you can push this button. It'll pop open your like right side passenger door, your rear left passenger door, or your rear right passenger door. You can also adjust some of the seats. I believe these are passenger seats. Let's test it. Yep, that's the passenger seat kind of moving back and around. So that's pretty cool. Move your passenger seat forward and back if you have someone getting in the back seat and they need more room. And you can access the settings menu from here as well. So if you want to leave this, I normally leave this over here on my PSI because I like to see that when I'm driving around. So also on this main screen, you get some time, you get your temperature up here on the left, your actual battery percentage, and then your range left. So lots of great information right at your fingertips. I absolutely love having a dash screen in front of me. I think it's worthwhile. Even though the information is redundant, you can see it over on the main screen on the Tesla as well. Having it in my line of sight really makes a difference to me. I'm going to go around and do some driving. We're going to get some driving footage and putting some things to the test as far as driving goes. I want to show you the blind spot monitoring, all those different UIs. Then I'll come back with my final thoughts on this screen. So as we start driving here, I want to show you guys just what this dash screen's all about. This is kind of the view right by my eyes. So you get a really good, nice, clear picture of right in front of you, all the information you'd want to see. It does cut off the top corners of the screen, and I want to say that's just because the vents make the screen sit a little bit higher than some of the other ones. So you can kind of see just a little bit different. It's a little bit more up in the air. That's when I zoom in. So this is right at my kind of eye level. I get all the information I need right at the kind of in my line of sight, right at the screen. As we start off, this is kind of UI 1, and this is kind of the default setting. Remember, I turned off that rainbow road feature. I'll turn on the autopilot here in a second once I get on this other road so you can actually see what it looks like. But it gives you all the information you could want. You can see your turn blinker there. You know when your brake lights are on. Kind of shows you all that good stuff that you'd expect to see when driving around. So again, if you've watched any of my F9 Pro video review, you'll recognize all of these different UIs that we're going to go over. They're kind of very similar. It's a very similar UI in this F10 screen, just a little bit different kind of form factor. I really like this form factor a lot. A little bit wider and skinnier makes a lot of sense to me. It's still the information I want, but I can see the areas of the screen I need to see now. So I like it a lot. This is that, again, UI 1. I'll show you guys UI 2 next. So it's a little bit darker because it's kind of a darker mode, but this is UI 2. It's a little bit kind of old school, I'd call it, where it does have like kind of a dial, tachometer or speedometer in the front. Still gives you the digital readout of your speed, but also has the arrow kind of that moves along the top there. So I kind of like UI 2 a lot. Again, it's that darker mode. So if you really don't want all the information kind of blasting you in the face with kind of a white screen or turn on a different kind of mode, this is the one you'll probably go for. And finally, we have kind of the third UI here, or UI 3. You can see it adds a little bit of kind of like road graphics to the middle of the display. Again, if you've seen my other videos, I kind of like this display the most. Kind of adds a little bit of characteristics, shows you that you're going down the road. And I just really kind of like the design of UI 3. Really similar to UI 1, it just adds those road graphics and kind of that overlay on the sides there. I want to show you guys that I quickly paired my phone to the dash screen to bring up Android Auto. Super simple. It's just like connecting a Bluetooth device. You can get all your Android Auto and apps that you use for Android Auto right here in front of you as well. So it's really convenient. Google Maps, Waze, other programs, your contacts, YouTube Music, all the kind of stuff you'd want from Android Auto. If you want that functionality, you can get it on the dash screen. I personally really enjoy the Tesla UI and the Tesla ecosystem. It has everything that I want, but it does offer that flexibility for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay if you need those things in your car. The last piece of information I want to share with you guys is the blind spot monitoring feature. You see, I just had a car roll up and pass me over here on the left. Another one's about to. You can see the left side of the screen actually light up and a little indicator on the screen right in where my blind spot would be that there's a car there. So really useful to have that in your peripheral vision, in your line of sight. I really like having that right directly in front of me. Every new car that comes out of the factory today has some sort of blind spot monitoring. I get so many comments of people hating on this, saying, just turn your head, use your mirrors. If it wasn't a useful feature, they wouldn't put it in every single new car. The older style Teslas lack this kind of blind spot monitoring. So I really like having this kind of functionality in the vehicle, right in my line of sight. I think it's really convenient and I like having it. So it's a cool feature. I wish there was another way for, there are some other ways for Teslas to get this kind of indication if you incorporate some other aftermarket accessories, but I love having it right here on the screen in front of me. As I slow down here and let a car pass me, you'll see it light up again, that big yellow indicator. If I were to put my blinker on, it lets me know, hey, there's a car in your blind spot. You saw it turn red. There's a big car in my blind spot. Do not merge right now. There's a car there. So I love the functionality. It makes a lot of sense to me to have that kind of feature. So as we kind of wrap up this video, I want to kind of give you guys my final thoughts on this F10 dash screen, how it compares to some of the other dash screens I've used, and give you my overall opinion of it. I really like this form factor, the adjustability of the air vents and to get the air blowing right at your face is underrated. It's something that I kind of missed when I installed some of the other dash screens. It's like, yeah, there's still some airflow around it, but it wasn't very good. When you get these dash screens that actually have the pass-through there, it's a complete game changer to have airflow directly at your face, heat, air conditioning, things like that. If you're coming back from the gym, I like some cold air right on my face to help me stop from sweating and all that. So it's a really underrated feature. I will never try another dash screen. Maybe I will. I don't want to try another dash screen that doesn't have some sort of air pass-through. I'm sold on that technology. Hopefully you guys are too by the end of this video. I really like the UI. The UI in this F9 Pro and this F10 screen that I just installed, it's very similar. I'd almost say it's the same. It's very, very user friendly. It's easy to navigate. The menus all make sense. It works well. They do offer over-the-air updates. So if there's any time like an update from Tesla breaks one of these dash screens and makes them stop functioning, Test Studio provides over-the-air updates so you can get an updated file or updated fix to make it work again. So you're not just going to have a brick screen that stops working if Tesla decides to update it. So I like that a lot. I like the UI. I like the ability to customize the car picture there, the different kind of settings over here on the right that allow you to change what you want to see. I usually leave it on the PSI because that's what I like to see when I'm driving around to see what tire pressure I have. But if you're into the Android Auto, if you're into the CarPlay, you can easily access that just from the touch of a button on the screen. The little hidden drop-down menu that I showed earlier that allows you to adjust the passenger seat, pop open some of the passenger doors, do some pre-battery heating, conditioning, things like that when you're heading to the supercharger. Really kind of cool. It does an awful lot for what it is for a dash screen. I think one of its best features is its blind spot monitoring. As I mentioned in that section, you get a lot of haters when you talk about blind spot monitoring. People just say, turn your head a little bit. The Tesla already does that. I absolutely agree. I also think that they wouldn't make new cars that had blind spot monitoring if it wasn't a useful feature. Say what you want, it's a useful feature. Having an indication light right in your line of sight that says, hey, there's a car in your way, don't merge before you turn on your blinker, I think is a really great feature. So if you don't like it, that's fine. But I think a lot of people find a lot of use, a lot of ability and a lot of use out of something like that. So overall, 10 out of 10. I really like this screen. Depending on the form factor you like, I would highly suggest picking up this screen, this F10 screen or that F9 screen. They fit in both your Model 3s, Model Ys, in your Junipers. So there's lots of options there. As always, I'll have a link to this screen down in the description. I'll also include a link to the F9 screen so you can check them both out and see which one is right for you, the F9 Pro screen. Whenever you shop at Test Studio, make sure to use the discount code right here on the screen, Gamble1080. It saves you 28% right now. Much more than any other discount code that they're offering on their website. Usually they offer around a 25% discount. This helps you save a few more bucks, especially when buying some of these higher end accessories for your Tesla. I'd love to know, what screens have you guys tried in your Tesla? Do you like this style? Have you seen any of the other kind of triangular ones? Just let me know. Do you guys like dash screens, or do you think there's a better option for you? Another thing I forgot to mention is you can also get this screen with or without the front bumper camera. So if you want that front bumper camera feature to show up on here and install that, you can get it with it. If you don't want it, save a few bucks and click the option without it. So lots of options there. I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. If you're interested in any of the other accessories I've got for my Tesla, check out the rest of my channel, all the videos. There's a playlist with all my Model Y videos, as well as an Amazon link to my Amazon storefront down in the description. You can check out all the accessories I recommend from Amazon as well. I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for coming back for another video. I really appreciate all the support. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next video. Have an awesome day.